Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakbadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in this gospel broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the spirit. It says the economy is booming. Lies. But inflation is on voters' mind as election nears. As the biggest worry or the biggest concern about the average person is the cost of food or the rising costs of the cost of living. Food, raiment, shelter. The cost of vehicle, property taxes. Just for people to be able to sustain themselves, and that's ultimately why a lot of people are going red this year instead of voting Democrat, which both parties are really in it to set you people up, because we know that the right wing and the left wing, they work together because it's part of the same system, which is blatantly obvious. But I guess to a nation of slow bellies to have the world's worst educational institutions, it's hard to see that, right wing, left wing. I mean, that right there tells you it's part of the same bipartisan system. I was looking up some things the other day, and I was looking into Chicago and how you got this one particular Jake lady that has been going off on the city councils of Chicago, Brandon Jackson, and all these delegated authoritative figures that you've elected or selected over you to ruin your life. Basically, they have a campaign now to turn Chicago red because, the price of inflation, they just went up to inflation, property tax hikes, being displaced by migrants, not being able to set up their own businesses, and yet other nations are coming over here getting the funding that you've paid into your tax systems. So now Chicago is imposing a $300 million hike in the form of property taxes, when Chicago already has the second highest gross in property taxes in the nation. I believe number one, of course, may be New York, if I'm not mistaken. But Chicago has the second high. They pay the second highest when it comes to property taxes. So let's just say if you got a $375,000 house, add 10 more grand on there a year, because property taxes is just, it's ridiculous, man, which proves you don't own anything. So people are basically switching their political parties based on the strength of who's going to allow them to put the most food in their belly and to afford that, to be able to afford to live. Basic necessities. With the scriptures goes into the basic necessities of living, being, food, bread, the oil, wine, fruit of the vine, which is the wine. Those are the essentials that men need in order to survive here. But yet Esau Edom is making it damn near impossible, because now a 1-bedroom apartment in Kansas City, Missouri, gonna run you about $1,800 depending on what part of town you in. It's ridiculous, man. Okay, so it says the U.S. economy is the envy of the world with strong growth, which the economy is not really growing. You have a GDP of annual growth of 34%, and then you have a growth of 2.5% a year. I mean, that's not really good when you have what they call gross domestic product. When you have that at a certain percentage, and then you have a failing economy and inflation, which is not helping anything. I mean, you can't really say that this is a good economy. Okay, all the jobs in the private sector and the public sector, which they're trying to merge the two. I mean, you may have jobs that's being created, but a lot of people ain't qualified for those jobs. And a lot of them are just under different job titles. Like, prime example, you may have what they call a social worker, and then they may create a job title out of that, a community health worker or this worker, that worker, but it's all under the same umbrella. It's still social work. So you're not really creating new so-called jobs or new, how can I say it? You may create a new job opportunity, but it still fits under the umbrella of social work, if that makes any sense. Okay, you're not creating new job genres or anything new. Okay, you're just branching off what's already there and calling it something else when it's genuinely or essentially the same thing. Okay, so you can't say, oh, you're creating new jobs. You're creating new positions and you're hiring people within those jobs. But even then, people got to be qualified to do those jobs, if that make any sense. You know? Anyway, it says easing prices in the robust job market, but voters heading to the polls Thursday are more likely to be thinking about their experiences in the once-in-a-lifetime inflation, which they said this has been the highest record of inflation in 40 years, if I'm not mistaken. And soon to be hyperinflation, because eventually these prices that you got now, in a short while, you're going to be fighting to get these prices back. You're going to be fighting to pay $1,500 for rent when your goddamn mortgage goes up fucking 40-50%. You know, some people rents raised up to $2,500, $3,000 a month, which is totally unacceptable. It's unaffordable. People can barely live. But it says the pandemic-related run-up in the prices has made American life costlier and loom large over the presidential election. But over the past 4 years, grocery prices have risen 22%. Tell me about it. I remember mayonnaise or a Miracle Whip used to be like $2, $3. Now a small jar of Miracle Whip run you about $4. Okay, a big jar around $6, $7. Peanut butter has went up, oils have went up, cookies have went up, crackers, all these basic essentials have gone up, you know? But it says, while utilities in new homes have gone up 28%. Although wages have risen and inflation has come down dramatically, many families are still struggling to catch up. Yeah, because these like particular companies, like these little development companies and these like management companies, they're not going down on the rent. Usually your property manager, they raise rent every year, you know? I think they could do like a $10 to $15 price hike in certain cases. Sometimes they'll go up $50-$60, but regardless, rent is not coming down. Food is not really coming down like that. Okay? Taxes are not going down. So where's the money going? But it says here, the first presidential election in 50 years or so where the driving issue is what things actually cost at the grocery store. It says Republican strategist James Carville famously said, "It is the economy, stupid." But that's not really the case. It's how much things cost, because we know out of all the things that's went up, you know, you got these corporations that's actually capitalizing off those things. So they do what they call price gouging. So let's just say if the economy has inflated by 12 to 15%, then they may price gouge another 3-4% on top of that. So 15%, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you end up paying 20% because the corporations then put a 4% tax hike on it, which means you're going to pay more, which is basically corporate greed. And they got a diagram here. New homes, which is roughly 28%. Utilities have went up. Like, it's crazy. How the hell do I have $104 light bill when I barely use any electricity? Like, seriously, like I don't even use my air or heat, you know? And it went up, and we in fucking fall, which is crazy, you know? But this is how Esau, you know, this is a wicked system. Groceries went up roughly 22%. New vehicles, roughly 20%. Average hourly pay went up, which have not equated to the amount of new homes and utilities. So you may get average pay, you may get more money, but it's still not enough to cover the cost. So if the price of homes went up 30%, then they need to pay you twice that. So that means that you need to be getting a 40% pay increase just so you can live comfortably, but they're not going to do that. Medical care went up roughly 10%, you know, but it says Vice President Kamala Harris recently has managed to narrow the polling gap on how Americans think she'll handle the economy. But the recent run up in prices remain among the top reason the race remains so tight, as many voters say they prefer President Donald Trump to bring costs down. And that's the reason why a lot of people are really voting for Trump, a lot of jakes, because they believe that Donald Trump is going to basically holster the economy and get things back to where they need to be. But that's not going to happen, because for the simple fact, this is the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, and you have a weakening dollar. Okay, you had the BRICS summit that just took place roughly a few days ago, and they're trying to find out how to do deals without the dollar, which is going to hurt the dollar dramatically. So even if they wanted to curb inflation, they can't, because the dollar is being devalued, and that's something that the presidents will never really directly tell you. Okay, they make it seem like, oh, well, the price of goods is getting expensive. Well, the price of goods is getting expensive because the dollar is getting weaker. Okay, and more nations that decide to not deal with the dollar and ditch the dollar, then the more expensive things will be. Okay, and it is how it is. This is how the Lord set it up, you know. But it says here, I don't agree with a lot of his policies, but when it comes to the economy, that's where our views align, says Lee Fan, 41, a clinical researcher in Miami who voted for Obama in 2008 and plans to vote for Trump the next week. Which you people, all you people are stupid. Okay, every last one of you people that go down there and vote, you're stupid because your votes really don't mean a damn thing. Okay, your vote don't count. They've already selected or pre-selected who they want to be in office, you know. It just, whatever script they choose to go with. You know, they got a script for Kamala, they got a script for Trump, and then they got a script if they decide to suspend the whole selection process, which is wait and see. But it says here, Democrats want to use taxpayer dollars on all kinds of social services, but Trump says he will lower taxes, and that's a distinction for me. Well, yeah, he's going to lower them for the rich. He ain't going to do nothing for you, Jakes. Mark them words. But while strong economies historically have favored incumbent political parties, a wave of populism, driven in part by discontent over surging prices, has punished incumbents in a number of nations, including Britain, South America, and India, and find out that I think they're raising taxes in Britain too. So this is all across the board. But it says in the United States, the downbeat perception of the economy has defined this election cycle, while majority of voters say that the economy is a top concern, right? Because people want to be concerned with how much they can eat, how much they can get for paying less. Okay, at the end of the day, it's about people being comfortable, because the American dream was for you to live the comfortable life, the lavish life. And this is what people are trying to run a rat race to get back to. You know, they feel like the more we work, the more we can make a change in positivity, then, you know, we can get back to where we once were. But those days are gone. Okay, those days that the good old days of America when you get 50 pounds of chicken for $10, man, that shit is over with. It ain't never coming back, because we're at the end of a society. Okay, as we've known that world powers or kingdoms bottom out after 250 years, you know. So it makes sense. The Lord said a little season. So we're at the end of this little season. Yahweh Shai is getting ready to come back. But it says here, it says 52% says is an extremely important factor in how they will vote, and the highest level since the throes of the Great Recession, Gallups poll show. But Brendan Fizier, a recent college graduate in Wilmington, North Carolina, says a 20% increase in her rent this summer has made it difficult to cover basics. She makes $45,000 a year. Wow. $45,000 a year, and that's roughly like what? Shit. $20 an hour, if that. $22 an hour a year at making her marketing job, but says she and her boyfriend are considering moving to a cheaper part of the state. It says they're also putting off plans for graduate school, and like many of their friends, cutting back on new clothes and weekend trips to keep up with rising costs, just to have a freaking roof over their head. Fees at 24 plans to vote for Harris, dummy, in part because she has been encouraged by the candidate's willingness to address housing affordability head on. And that's what they say. But usually with these candidates on both sides of the spectrum, they say what they're going to do, but they don't do it. They lie. Okay? Politicians are all liars. They make profits off your misery, and all the money that they're taking from you people, hey, is going in their pockets. It says she's bringing attention to the things my generation is struggling with, but it isn't just about the abortion or border. It's about things we hear about all the time, but about the cost we're facing every day just to have a place to live. And, you know, like I said, if you American people knew what the hell was going on, hey, you people would have been revolting. You would have been put the fire to these politicians. But what do? You continue to get up and go to work every day. As long as you have a grocery store down the street, reality TV shows, and a club on the weekends and something to drink, you people would never do anything of any value. This is why they're running a smoke over you, and good for you. All right, because we've warned you already. But regardless, this ain't our kingdom. We just exist in it. So we don't give a fuck who wins. Me personally, I don't care. All right, but heading into the election, a barrage of fresh data this week reflected one of the best pre-election economies in decades. Gross domestic product rose at a healthy 2.8%. And I meant earlier, GDP was at 2.2% a few years ago. So I don't know why I think I got the 34% from the annual growth, but the gross domestic product was 2.8, but before it was like 2.2. So clearly they claiming that the economy is back on track, but don't really seem like it. But it says healthy 2.8% annual rate in the most recent quarter. But businesses hire more workers than expected this month, with 233,000 new private sector jobs, according to payroll processing from ADP. It says weekly claims for unemployment benefits for last week hit a 5-month low, according to Thursday report. And because remember, throughout the pandemic, they was hiring. I mean, they were like, look, we're hiring, people come to work. So everybody got off their ass and got a job. But just because you got a job, that doesn't mean that the economy is good, because you still can't afford to live. Okay, what you're doing, you're just basically pumping air in a deflated balloon while it's seeping out. So you're gonna constantly pump that balloon, but it will never come to fruition because there's a hole in the freaking balloon. And that's basically what people are doing. It's an overly inflated market, man. Okay. But it says, and Americans may be starting to notice because consumer confidence, a measure of economic optimism, posted in its largest monthly jump in more than 3 years, according to the Conference Board data out this week. And notice, around every presidential election, the gas prices go down. Why is that? Because they're controlling it. Just 3 months ago, gas was peaking out at $3.78, in states like Missouri, which is really not heard of. But now they back down to $2.55. Why? Because the election is in hand, which shows you they control this shit. But it says, but the strong economy on its own has proved a challenge for Democrats to sell, both for President Joe Biden and Harris. Either this year, the White House abandoning the catch-call phrase Bidenomics that they have been using to sum up economic growth from the president's policy boosting infrastructure spending, green energy technology, and the chips industry. Republicans and Trumps like to use the phrase as a catchy reminder about the wait for higher prices, man. So yeah, this thing is really through. And the next paragraph really sums it up. But let me get a preset real quick before we continue on, because basically the money is getting weaker. All right, and this economy is getting ready to fall. It's a done deal. Okay, I don't care how many jobs you add to the private sector. It doesn't mean that the economy is doing good. It just means that you just have enough to go around and hire people, and you're printing money out of thin air. But that doesn't mean the economy is doing well. Okay, you have a bunch of workers, and that's it. But nobody's really making a profit, or nobody's actually able to do the things that they need to do. They're just keeping corporations funded because you have to pay higher in gas prices, you have to pay higher taxes, higher rent, higher foods, which is basically funding these corporations. So nobody's really making any money, because $30 an hour today was $15 an hour 7 years ago. So I mean, what's the difference? Give or take here and more, but still. But anyway, Revelation 6:5. And it says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard the voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and a measure of barley for a penny, and see that thou hurt not the oil and the wine, which that represents the truth, okay? But it says a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, all right, which goes into hyperinflation, which is soon to be here in America. So you thought that a $5 carton of eggs was high. Wait till the dollar completely collapses, man. Then you may be looking at $50-$60 for a carton of eggs. And that's when people are gonna really start to really lose their mind out here, because that's when all hope is gonna be out the window, which you people are really holding on to false hope anyway. Okay, and that word for penny goes into denarian, right? And it goes here, the Roman silver coin in the New Testament time, it took its name for being equal to 10 asses, because dollar goes into measurement, right? It says, and after the number increased to 16, about 3.898 grams, or 0.1375 ounce. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire, which goes into a day's wage. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it was seen that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages, man, all right? So that was basically their day's wage. That was their pay. You get a denarius, okay? Because in the scriptures, you got paid after every day. You didn't have no 2-week policy or 3-week policy or week policy, at least in the Older Testament. Now in the Roman Empire, I don't know, it could have been different, but from what I understand, a day's wage is you get your hourly pay, you get your pay and you take it home. Like today's wage, right? You may have a day wage. Let's say if you make $10 an hour, right? And $10 an hour will basically be $80 a day, basically for pay, right? But you don't get the money until 2 weeks out because they have what they call fractional reserve banking, and what that does is it basically takes your money and then loans it out at a percentage. So therefore, funding wars, funding particular clinics, forming these people, this set of people, that people, migrants, whatever they may need the money for. All right, and then you get your money when it comes back into fruition, so to speak. So this is why you get a paycheck every 2 weeks later, which is bullshit, man. Because you're supposed to get paid after every day. Like the day I clock out is the day I should get my take-home pay. Because I gotta get groceries, I gotta get food, I gotta pay rent, shit like that. Versus you have to budget and rob Peter to pay Paul, to do this and do that. That's wickedness, man. Okay? And Yahweh Shai is not dealing with that. Let's go from here to James 5th chapter, 5 and 1. It says, "Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl, for your misery should come upon you." Right. So I guarantee you the Rothschilds, they ain't waiting no 2 weeks to get no damn paycheck. They getting money hand over foot. They have money. Okay. They have silver. They have gold. They have wealth. Okay. When they want something, they can get it because what they worth. Now, a slave currency is what they call the dollar. See, the Rothschilds, they're not stupid. They don't deal with paper money, fiat money like we do. They actually deal with real fucking money, man. Okay, they ain't waiting no 3 weeks to get a damn paycheck. They are the money. So they was like, you know what? Let's come up with a counterfeit currency and label it legal tender. And this is what we're gonna pay the people in slave labor, right? Slave tender. But the Rothschilds ain't dealing with no goddamn money. You ask David Rothschild or Evelyn or whoever them devils are and say, "Hey, give me let me get $1,000 cash." They gonna look at you like you crazy. Like, what? They got silver, they got gold, they got land, they got wealth, they got corporations behind them. Now, yeah, they may give a briefcase of money to corporations like, "Here, take this, for this day and that day." But they themselves ain't got to deal with that shit, man. You ain't gonna go in a Rothschild's crib and find $1 million in a safe, no goddamn way, because they don't need that shit, man. They scoff at that. They laugh at that because that's not real money. Versus a Jake, he got $1 million in a safe. He feel like he's rich. Like Floyd Mayweather, that nigga ain't rich, man. He's poor. Okay, he's poor compared to them. Now, yeah, he may have Rolexes and particular investments, but the cars and jewelry he invests in, that's a horrible investment, man. Okay, he ain't gonna be able to put his money in gold and he may be able to put his money in livestock, but he ain't gonna be able to buy wealth. He's not gonna be able to buy like lands in countries, and he can't do that shit, man. He's not in that upper echelon of elite. Okay. Now you may say that, well, Floyd Mayweather rich, you call him poor. What that make you? Look, Floyd Mayweather's poor. That means I'm a fucking charity case, man. Okay. Period. In layman's terms, we will be considered peasants under the Rothschilds because this is the system they created. So is everybody else. But like Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, yeah, they're poor. They ain't got no goddamn money. The elite stuff, that's chump change, man. To go back into the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. Hey, the rich man, he fared sumptuously, man. He fared very well at the table. And the crumbs that basically the beggar, which represents us, we ain't even getting the fucking crumbs. That's Oprah, they getting crumbs, a $1 billion here, 2 billion, 3 billion. That's a fucking crumb compared to a gazillionaire, man. Like I was reading this article that basically Russia is finding Google 20 billion, trillion. They ain't even got a number. They finding Google based on their falsifying of information and taking down videos based on disinformation. Russia basically is finding their ass every single day, which they had like fucking 15 zeros behind that shit. 20 zeros. Like you can't even, it ain't even a number for that. Okay. You see? So it's just like, it's just all madness, man. All right. But it says here, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth eaten. Yeah, because that US dollar, that dollar is just trash. That's a debt note. This is why you're on the grid. This is why you have a reoccurring monthly bill, because the money is not worth shit. Okay, you ain't supposed to be paying no goddamn light bill every fucking month. Light is free. Okay, I'm looking out the sun, the sky. I mean, I'm looking out of the window now. I have the sun in the sky. Okay, you have solar power, sun. You have solar power. You have gases from the earth. Okay, you have you have a network of resources that the earth generates that we can use freely at our will to create wealth and to create opportunities for our people. But Esau Edom has put a tax on these things. How the hell you gonna tax somebody for breathing, bro? I know where in hell I should be paying a fucking gas bill every goddamn month. Well, we have to be justified. We have to dig these things up and we have to provide. That shit don't cost no money, man. This is why this man has to go down. And this is why everybody is on edge, because they're wondering, okay, are we going to have to pay more rent next year? And the question is yes. Okay, now depending on who get in there, you may see some type of short-term relief in some form of fashion, because we're used to trends going up and down, fluctuations, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's all getting ready to fall on its heels. Okay, 2025, hey, we may see another rate hike, a tax hike. Like I said, this guy, Brandon Johnson, is proposing a $300 million tax hike for Chicago, okay, for the 2025 fiscal year. And he's still pretty much in $1 billion deficit from last year. So he has to get that money somehow, some way. And the citizens of Chicago, they getting ready to lose their mind. They ready to hang this dude, man, from the gallows. You know, we told you when you put these niggas in office, they gonna do the bidding of Satan. And that's all Brandon Johnson is. I knew from the first day that he came on, because I think he was like on a school board or like a school teacher. He just looked like a rip-off Dr. Umar Johnson type nigga, man. He just talking in circles. He don't mean what he say, man. He's a cheap suit. He's a puppet. But you simple jakes put this guy in office, just like that Yoshi-looking chick, Lloyd Lightfoot, which I think that's a damn man, all right? That demon look like a creative player from Live 1998 or some shit on PlayStation, man. You know? But you put these people in office based on what they look like. And when Jake is bringing up, or when people is bringing up, okay, are you voting for these people based on policy and this and that? It's crickets. This is why this place is a joke, man. But it says here, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them should be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it was fire. It says, ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. So all this wealth you stole, like the scriptures say, you're going to vomit up those riches, and you're going to vomit up to basically give to the poor. Hey, man, Esau is getting ready to pay, man. All right. Matter of fact, let me get this in Proverbs 28. Proverbs 28 and 8, it says, he that by usury and unjust gain, okay, because this society is based on usury. That's what tax is, usury. So when you're paying a tax, or you're getting taxed out of your payroll checks, which that's not income, that's a labor wage, that's not taxable, but that's usury. So basically they're taxing you on top of what you take home. So if you got a gross pay of $4,000 a month, that's what your take home is supposed to be. You ain't supposed to they ain't supposed to tax that. Now, if people was taking home their gross, what is it, the gross or the annual, whatever, I think the one when it's before the taxes, if people was to take that home, then you might not be in such bad case. And you may see a little economic growth because people will spend money. But you have a greedy corporation or a private corporation by the name of the IRS that comes in and they want to take the money off the top. But if they gave everybody their take-home pay before taxes, would it be $4,000 or $5,000 a month? People will make some decent money. You'll be able to afford a fucking house, but you can't do that because you have these bureaucracies that's set up to rob the people, man. All right. But it says here, he that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, and he should gather it from him that will pity the poor. So eventually you're going to spew all that shit up, man. Okay, all the riches that you stole, the wealth that you stole from us, because really it's all our wealth anyway. All right, in the form of the silver, the gold, the land. This earth belongs to the children of Israel. It don't belong to you heathens. And we going to get all that back and then some. All right, like the scripture say, according to your restitution should be. Matter of fact, let's go from here. I think that's Job 18. Job 18. Nope, maybe Job 5. I always get Job 5, 18, and Job 20 mixed up. we at? Where we at? Where we at? Verses 5 is good as well, but hold on, give me 1 second, brother. Salakia. I have a tendency of overlooking things when I'm actually trying to get it. It's our nephew. Job 20. Yep, bingo. Yep, Job 20, and I'm going to start at verses 15. It says, he had swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. For the Most High should cast them out of his belly. Yeah, that wealth. Okay, the Rothschilds haven't worked in over 500 years. Bauer, okay, peasants. These men have been unemployed or self-sufficient for the last goddamn century almost, man. Haven't worked a day in their life. But yet they've taken care of. They feel look at some of their estates, man. Look at their mansions. Look at their homes. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, like literally like 50, 60 room mansions, man. You know, maids, underground bunkers, shit like that. These men are living well. And it says, and he should suck the poison of asps. Viper's tongue should slay him, and he should not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks, nor the honey and the butter. Yeah, because your New World Order is going to fail. All right? Your New World Order is not going to come to fruition because the Lord has ordained it to be obliterated by the time you set this thing up. Yahweh Shai is going to come and he's going to put you in slavery. You know? And it says, that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. And according to his substance should the restitution be, and he should not rejoice therein. So out of all the shit you did, bro, because like the scriptures goes into a thief. A lot of times, if a thief is stealing to, you know, to fulfill his belly and to, you know, take care of himself, then there's a restitution that needs to be paid. Okay, but if you're just a demon, then, you know, hey, you could be put to death. But in this case, you're going to have to pay back all that. Everything you stole, you're going to have to make it up for it in slave labor, man. You're going to have to build the kingdom from scratch. And then after that, we're going to destroy your ass. That's why it says here, he should not rejoice therein, because he's going to have to pay this. You got to pay the debt, bro. You in debt, to the Lord. So you got to pay that off. It says, because he have oppressed and forsaken the poor, which is us, because he have violently taken away a house which he builded not. Surely he should not feel quietness in his belly. He should not save that which he desired. There should none of his meat be left. Therefore should no man look for his goods. And in the fullness of his sufficiency, when he should be in straits, every hand of the wicked should come upon him, which goes into the laborers, which is the people. And when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High should cast out the fear of his wrath upon him, and it should rain upon him while he is eating. So right when you set up your New World Order, this is when the Most High is going to put the hammer down on you, man. And righteously so. And it's about time, because you know what? Just going to work, shit, paying rent, paying bills, paying fucking insurance, car notes. I mean, that's just the minute shit. But overall, you got people in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, all because of this wicked system, this convoluted system. You know, people are sick and tired of it, man. You waking up to go to work just to pay some damn rent that you may not be. You may get evicted next month, man. You know, just because. All right. So it says here, Harris, though, has taken a different approach. And instead of touting the economy's strength, she has focused on challenges facing Americans, including high prices for food or housing or childcare, which, bitch, you're the primary reason as to why things are out of control now. All right. And if people are asking us, like, wait a minute, man, if you're talking about these proposals now, why the hell ain't doing nothing now? Why didn't you do it 2-3 years ago? You know, then it's curtains. Then all of a sudden, Donald Trump, every other freaking word out of her mouth is some damn Donald Trump. Like, get over it already. We know that both of you are in bed with each other, working for the best interest of the elite bankers, and you're working against our people. Okay, we don't care about them heathens, man. So be it. You know? But it says our biggest challenge is to lower costs that were rising even before the pandemic and that were still too high. Harris said in a speech in Washington this week, I get it. And honestly speaking, we was in a retail apocalypse prior to the pandemic, but they used that to hide the fact of a dollar collapse. And the reality of it is that they're overly inflating the dollar. They're printing more money. You got more dollars in circulation than ever. And all that is causing the dollar to fail because, I mean, it's nothing but that. And it says the tactic has worked. Voters say they trust Harris over Trump when it comes to cost for housing childcare, nursing homes, and prescription medications, according to the recent poll by AARP. But Trump, though, continues to hold the lead on the economy in general because, honestly speaking, under Donald Trump, things were a lot cheaper. Okay, you did have a little bit more money to spend. Gas was a little cheaper. I mean, shit, before the war in Ukraine kicked off in 2022, shit, gas prices here was $1.99, man. I mean, shit, where they do that at? That's almost like early 2000s, man, So, yeah, this is a pretty long article. But basically, they going into how this new presidential election, if the Democrats stay in there, then pretty much all things are going to go to hell. But regardless of it, nobody's going to defeat this inflation because the dollar's through. That's just what it's all about. All right, Genesis 47. And I'm going to start at verses 13. And it says, "And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore." And when we go back to Revelation, the 6th chapter, the verse when it goes into the hyperinflation, verse 6 and I think 6 and 4, 6 and 5, or 6 and 6. Remember, the sub-caption of that particular verse is famine. So famine is on the horizon right now. Okay, and this is what people ain't really banking on. Yeah, they may say, yeah, food shortages here and there, but there will be a famine that hit this side of the world. And when that happens, that's when people are going to go bat shit crazy. Mark those words. But it says, "And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of famine." All right. And we're in modern day Egypt, as it tells us the Lord is going to bring the plagues as before. "And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they brought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth." So basically, they're going to have to go back to a bartering system. All right, Joseph was smart. He said, and Joseph said, "Give your cattle," which is the real source of money, "and I will give you," it says, "give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail." And they bought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle that year. Because Joseph was righteous, all right? But Esau, he's not righteous. Esau is going to take whatever you got, and he's going to basically bestow it unto himself. So these are the times we living in. Yahweh Shai has said it. Verse 4, "Behold, the hires of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, cried, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth." Okay, and the laborers is the people. "Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth, and have been one time, and ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter." Okay, it says, "You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you," because the scriptures say that we have to go to this devil for the one of all things. All right, so hey, man, this place is getting ready to fall. And in my humble opinion, it can't fall fast enough. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord, is where you were edified. To the next lesson. Shalom.